The good news is the PTR goes live today at noon Tex Central. So if you're Pacific time, that's 10 a.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. today at the time of this recording. If you're watching this over the weekend, the PTR is up. You can go actually download the client right now as I'm recording this, but download it. Go check it out. Go have fun. This video itself is actually going to extremely focusing in on the combat changes. I did a live stream where I did the full patch notes reading. That's going to be linked in the description. You can check the live tab here on the main channel as a way to, find those live stream contents. I don't know if YouTube's going to recommend it to you or not. Honestly, it's the way that YouTube is. You never know how they're going to recommend the content. And if you guys don't see my videos, be sure that you're subscribed, be sure you got that bell rung, and be sure you hit the like button on those. I think that helps YouTube out more than it helps me out personally, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I'm not here to waste your time. We got a lot of combat changes to go over. I'd be interested in what is the thing that you stand out the most. To start this video off, the Fire Staff. They have reworked the Fire Staff, which goes along with the theme, the Fellowship of Fire. So I think what we'll see this also going forward, new heart runes every season, and a weapon rework as well. So I think we're going to continue to see them refine the weapons, change the meta, and overall change the game. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy these notes. Let's go ahead and dive in. So for the combat changes, new heart rune ability Firestorm has been added. This allows you to create a tornado that damages targets in its path. You can also create more powerful versions of the heart gem if it fit your playstyle. For the mitigation formula, this has been updated. Updated the PvP damage mitigation formula to better scale mitigation across a variety of player gear scores. They changed Fortify and Ren to directly scale to the player's armor rating, increasing Fortify and Ren caps to account for these changes. Now they're also diving into critical hit changes. So they changed the critical hit damage calculation to be additive instead of multiplicative. So this sounds like a nerf to me. We'll have to test it out on the PTR today. They adjusted the critical hit chance to no longer increase by your total critical hit chance for every non-critical hit that occurs. Now the chance will only increase by the weapons-based critical hit chance for each non-critical hit that is triggered. They increased base critical hit chance on the Fire Staff, Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet by 6, on the bow by 2, and all other weapons by 4%. I don't know if this will end up shaking out to be a nerf or a boost, but we'll have to wait and see. For the PvP enemy persistent spell visual effects, they added visuals to enemy players that persistent spells that appear on the ground and volume to differentiate them from friendly spells. So you'll know if that's not cast by anybody on my team, maybe I don't stand in that, or that's not giving them the benefit that I think it is, etc., etc. For equipment loads, I think this is actually pretty significant. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Change bonuses that increase the outgoing crowd control effects durations on targets from being reduced incoming crowd control effects on durations on self. So basically, the heavy equip load, incoming crowd control debuffs is going to get a 20% reduction. For medium equip load, incoming crowd control debuffs is going to get a 10% damage reduction. For general, this is something interesting. They moved the 300 strength attribute bonus to the 300 con bonus, and they updated the functionality of the strength attribute bonus to grant increased base damage on heavy attacks. They fixed an issue with dodge rolling, going prone, and then dodge rolling again provides significant mobility. They fixed an issue where 200 strength and 250 dex attribute bonuses were not consistently applying the damage bonuses while some slows were active. They fixed an issue where you could perform attacks with the wrong weapon by spamming the attack and swapping the inputs. They fixed issues where the road buffs could be granted even when not on a road but above a road, but actually in this case just above it. They fixed actions that are now properly stopped when teleporting, avoiding subsequent animation glitches. They fixed a number of spells that when consuming durability for each hit instead of just the initial cast. They updated the tooltip to the 250 strength attribute bonus to be more clear about the functionality. They fixed the spell targeting indicators jumping when moving to aim over terrain with only a minor change in its undulation, fun word there. They fixed an issue where toggling abilities would be canceled correctly by joining the game modes. They fixed player collision is now actually disabled when entering death animations in PvP modes. They added text flyouts that will appear when the target dodges or evades your attack. They fixed an issue where players could immediately transition into a fall by the abyss, and the reaction, i.e. stagger knockdown, was triggered while jumping. They added a 50% max for the exhaust and increased stamina regen rate status effects. And for spell aiming indicators, they are now being preloaded so that during the high load periods, there is no delay showing them when using this ability. For the various weapon updates, they've added taunts. This means they added the taunt gem compatibility to several weapons and abilities to create additional choices when tanking. The Calming Counter, an 8-second AoE taunt on activation. Mighty Gavel, 4% hit on taunt. Maelstrom, 4% hit on taunt. Cyclone, 2-second hit on taunt. Incinerate has got a 3-second hit on taunt. Wind Chill, 3-second hit on taunt. Petrifying Scream, 4-second hit on taunt. Blast Shot, 4-second hit on taunt. For magic weapons, they removed mana cost on all magic weapon light attacks. This is a big significant one. They've also adjusted perks and the various different things. So ultimately now it's going to be where casting uses magic on heavy attacks. I think this is a significant magic change. For crowd control balance, reviewed all weapons to make more clear differentiations between attacks that are intended to be for crowd control and attacks that are meant to be damage, remove stagger from damage focused abilities, and reduce damage for stagger focused abilities. What it seems to me is like with that change, they're really kind of focusing in on like crowd control, that kind of mindset, utility based abilities versus like pure damage based abilities, but we're gonna have to see how that feels. For the Warhammer, we got some debuffs going on. Shocked Wave damage reduced from 80% to 60. Wrecking Ball damage reduced from 130 to 90. Clear Out damage reduced from 115 to 100. Path of Destiny damage reduced from 100 to 70. So nerfs across the board for Warhammer. Sword and Shield, Shield Bash, Intimidating Bash upgrade has been reduced from 100 to 75% weapon damage. Shield Rush damage reduced from 125 to 100. Shield Rush's improved rush weakened state from 10 to 20%, so a little buff there. Leaping Strike damage reduced from 150 to 100, and Reverse Stab no longer staggers. For the Spear, the Javelin damage reduced from 125 to 80. The Perforates final upgrade impactful strikes no longer staggers and was reworked to inflict a stack of 10% weaken for 5 seconds on each successful hit, up to 3 stacks max. Sweep's knockdown attack damage has been reduced from 75 to 45%. For the Greatsword, which we knew debuffs were coming here, Calamity counter damage reduced from 100 to 80, Steadfast Strike's first attack damage reduced from 70 to 40, and Skyward Slash's first attack damage reduced from 80 to 50%. For the Rapier, Flourish and Finish no longer staggers. The Flurry final upgrade finalized. Upgrade no longer staggers and was reworked to apply a stack of bleed used by the rest of the tree on successful hit. For the Great Axe, the Reap's first hit damage reduced from 70 to 60%. Gravity Well's upward melee swing damage reduced from 99 to 25%. Massive cut there. Gravity Well's Vortex Burst damage reduced from 125 to 100, and Insatiable Gravity Well's perk burst damage reduced from 100% to 50%. For the Hatchet, Feral Rush's first attack damage reduced from 115% to 80. For the Bow, the Evade Shot damage reduced from 125 to 90. Rapid Shot no longer staggers in this case. For the Musket, Stopping Powder damage reduced from 120 to 90%. For the Ice Gauntlet, Ice Spike's Mighty Spike no longer staggers. For the Void Gauntlet, Scream damage reduced from 100% to 70%. For the Blunderbuss, they fixed an issue that caused players to get into a bad state when entering the menu with Mortar Charge active. Indicator for loading shots now counts down correctly when ammunition is left or equal to less of the maximum number of loaded shots for the ranged weapon ability, such as the Blunderbuss Mortar. They fixed an issue where the additional shots could be fire animation canceling in the Blunderbuss Mortar Charge ability. They fixed a bug where activating Mortar Charge and sweeping weapons was giving the player an extra basic attack. For the Bow ability upgrades, Penetrating Shot Deep Strike upgrade reduced damage from 20 to 15, Long range passive reduced damage from 15 to 10%, Opening Strike passive reduced damage bonus from 20 to 10%, and Finishing Shot passive reduced damage from 20% to 15%. For the Fire Staff, we got a lot of changes here, so buckle up and maybe get ready to have a Fire Staff in your arsenal at all times. Ability updates. Pillar of Fire. Increase the size of the AoE from 2 meters to 2.5 meters. Reduce the time it took to trigger the attack from aiming from 13 frames to 7. Removed a 3-frame delay when the attack actually casted and when the damage was dealt. And they reduced the damage from 170 to 165. First Strike upgrade. Changed condition from being based off the target's HP, but dealing 5% damage per stack, of smolder on the target, named change to strike the match. Arson's advantage upgrade, they increase mana gain from 10% to 15%. For the meteor shower, they updated the ability to channel for 1 second, then cast the ability. Spell will remain active in the world for 4 seconds post cast. They increased damage from the initial hit from 75 to 100% of the weapon damage. They updated the status effect tick to once per second instead of once every 0.75 seconds. They increased the tick damage while inside from 25 to 50% of the weapon damage, and they updated mana to all be consumed at once upon activation. The Immobilize upgrade, the Immolation, increased the mana per hit gain from 1 to 3%. The Judgment of the Helios upgrade, they changed the functionality to be hit targets inside of the meteor shower, the effect of light and heavy attacks which will inflict stagger and smolder. For the Fiery Determination upgrade, they moved the upgrade to be the final upgrade of the meteor shower. This will force respec all Fire Staff Mastery trees. For Fireball, they updated the ability to no longer leave behind a burning AoE on impact. Damage is now focused on the impact and smolder dots. They increased the damage from 140 to 150. So it sounds like Fireball is going to be kind of a finisher in this regards. For the Scorched Earth upgrade, change functionality to now apply a stack of smolder on hit. For Incinerate, sped up the start of the attack, increased the damage of the attack from 130 to 150, added grit to the base ability. For the Flame Out upgrade, remove second hit, change functionality to grant a stack of Empower for 7 seconds per hit, and then the attack 3% Empower on stack up to 5 stacks max. For Burnout, they set the distance to increase the upgrade to be the base movement distance, upgraded the damage over time effect to be applied by the ability of the same smolder, and that rests on the weapon that it uses. They increased the damage from 129 to 130 to make it a nice round number. For the Heat Up upgrade, they changed the functionality to be able for the ability to trigger an explosion right as the ability ends. If you time the distance properly, extra damage will be achieved. For passive upgrades or updates, Spell Focus combine functionality of the Spell Focus and Flare into one passive. Heavies don't consume mana and grant 5% mana on hit. Singe will change from just lights to light and heavy attacks. For Flare, they updated the functionality to now trigger a 1 meter splash on impact. Pyromania, they reworked it to be increased by damage by 10% versus burning enemies. Heat Up reworked to dodging through an attack inflicts a stack of burn on the target. Trial by Fire changed activation condition from being hit to hitting a target within 4 meters of the player, increased damage over time from 5% to 20, decreased the duration from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, and decreased the cooldown from 120 seconds to 30 seconds. They updated all the tooltips, reinforcing the specific smolder burn to a state of smolder instead of burn. Burn will still apply to all general fire dots, status effects, including smolder, but smolder is a unique burn. For the ultimate updates, Root of Helios increases the radius of the AoE from 2 meters to 4 meters and reduces damage bonus from 25% to 20%. Reheat Ultimate changed the hitting to a target with a heavy attack that has 5 stacks of burn will now pop all burn stacks and deal 100% weapon damage in an AoE explosion around the player, and that's going to have a 10-second cooldown. For Great Axe ability updates, Gravity Well is now considered a ranged attack, and Charge updated the correct range description from 10 to 15 meters. It seems like it was always 15, but ultimately that is going to be what it is. For the Greatsword ability updates, tuned primary and heavy attack homing to be consistent with other melee weapons. Giant Slayer upgraded the tooltip to be more clear where the target needed to be above 90% health and not self. Path of Onslaught quick charge bonus increased the time it takes to charge the heavy attack, while the Path of Onslaught stance to be only 50% faster instead of twice as fast. Crosscut increased cooldown from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. Increase the cooldown. There we go. I read that kind of backwards in my mind. Relentless Rush Adaptive Rush upgrade reduced the root from 1 second to 0.5 seconds. Giant Slayer passive reduced the damage from 20% to 15%. Swift Onslaught passive changed activation condition to trigger off the ability hits and not ability activations. They updated several of the Greatsword tooltips to add clarity when the stances will actually take effect, including information for the base node stances and the state at which the stances are active after completing an ability. For the attacks that have multiple hits, added information to indicate which portion of these attacks need to be complete to activate these stances. For the Hatchet ability updates, Defy Death Ultimate reduced invincibility to 0.5 seconds and grants 500 HP plus 50% of max health upon activation, and reduce cooldown from 75 seconds to 60 seconds. They state that the intent of this change is to prevent Defy Death from being a risk-free situation. It still saves the player from death, but it just doesn't allow the player to recklessly remain in fight while not having to focus on their health values. In Rage Strikes, they changed it from being a basic attack to heavy attacks and abilities. For Berserking Refresh Upgrade, they updated it to be 5% lifesteal while Berserk is active instead of granting a flat amount of HP while active. For Desperate Refresh, they set up a cap of 5 activations per attack for the cooldown reduction, passive to match similar passives to other weapons. For the Ice Gauntlet, the Icy Pylon, they added the ability to despawn the Ice Pylon by holding the ability input for 1 second while the Ice Pylon is active. They added an Ice Pylon health details to the description. For Entombed, updated the description to include dodge as a way to exit. They added Entombed health details to the description. And Wind Chill, they added the ability to input delay of 0.6 seconds after the ability starts to avoid accidental cancellations. Now for their passive updates, the Cold Reach updated the distance from target from being further than 15 meters to within 15 meters of the target, and Empowered Frost increased mana gain while performing an attack while also inside the frosted area from 3 to 6 feet. For the Life Staff ability updates, the Absolved passive updated to be for heavy attacks only, since all magic weapons no longer cost mana on light attacks. They removed the required connection between the Absolved and Mending Touch and Blissful Touch passives in the Healing Life Staff tree. And Sacred Ground upgrade, Holy Ground reduced power of the increased stamina regenerate from 50% to 25%. For the Musket traps, they adjusted the cooldown to only trigger after the startup of the attack, so that if your ability is interrupted prior to 1 frame before the toss occurs, the ability will not go on cooldown. They tuned the aim down sight accuracy to reduce the effectiveness of rapid long-range shots. Accuracy will now be reduced when moving and aiming quickly. New passive Steady Hand replaces Ballistic Advantage, increased accuracy of any musket shot when aim down sights is maintained for 2 seconds. The increased accuracy will reset after a shot is fired. Steady Hand passive activates in 1 second resets on shot while the shooter stance is greater accuracy. Updated to remove accuracy penalty from hip shot, and updated the musket's aiming reticle appearance to better function with the musket's accuracy system. For the Void Gauntlet ability updates, the Void Blade added an input delay to 0.6 seconds after the ability starts to avoid accidental cancellations. For Baleful Tether, buffs and debuffs now start at maximum values and no longer scale up. Increased projectile size from 0.4 meters to 0.5 meters. They increased the impact of damage from 10% to 100% and added a damage text to the tooltips. They increased tether range from 15 meters to 20 meters. I really appreciate that. Tethered Focus upgrade increased mana regen rate increase from 100 to 200. For the Soul Eater upgrade, they changed the trigger condition to be off the tether ends or is broken. For the Essence Rapture, they increased the impact damage of 50% to 100 and added a damage text to the tooltips. Increased the projectile size from 0.33 meters to 0.5 meters, and they increased the projectile speed by 50%. For Oblivion, they updated the Invigorating Oblivion to grant 25% stamina regen rate instead of granting a flat amount of stamina per second. For passive updates, the Efficient Harvest, they removed the condition of being below 25% mana and changed the health and drain reduction from 50% to 35%. For Deadly Range, they updated the condition to be against targets with an active debuff and made it work with both light and heavy attacks. Fervent Thirst upgraded the work with both light and heavy attacks. Cleansing Harvest replaced Refreshing Harvest. Changed functionality to be that Harvest Essence removes 1 debuff from self with a 3-second cooldown. Leeching Bolts remove the target's health percentage condition, reduce the amount of bonus healing from 30% to 20%, and Extended Suffering upgraded it to work with both light and heavy attacks. To accompany these changes, they've made some adjustments to the perks here. So Empowering Meteor Shower, to compensate for the power increases across the board for Fire Staff, the Empowering Meteor Shower perk duration was reduced from 10 seconds to 6 seconds, and it no longer refreshes the duration of all stacks on reapplication. For the Empowering Incinerate, renamed it from Stable Incinerate to Empowering Incinerate, removed Grit from the perk and made it apply to the base ability, increased max damage from 3 to 12, 20% on weapons, to 4 to 17, 30% on weapons, but added a condition against targets with a burn status effect. Empowering Fireball updated the activation cooldown to be against targets above 50%. Change was made due to the additional power added to the base ability, and having that big of a flat damage bonus on a perk was incredibly strong. For the Efficient Burnout perk, renamed the perk to Fortifying Burnout, Change the functionality to grant a stack of 3 to 8%, 13% on weapons, fortify, for 5 seconds for each target hit with the attack, and that's going to max 3 stacks. For the accuracy perk, reduced accuracy bonus of the perk by 50%. For mortal empowerment, updated to only last for 2 minutes. Remove the ability for the duration to be refreshed for each kill, and reduce the max stack size to 10. So a nerf to mortal empowerment. Transient recovery, reduce the power of lifesteal from charged heavies from 10 to 40% based off the gear score to 5 to 20%. So a 50% cut overall for that perk. Refreshing move and refreshing torrent. Set a 0.2% cooldown, so they only trigger on instances of cooldown reduction per attack. For AI creature and Bane family perks, they updated it to deal 10% max damage when on magic and ranged weapons. For refreshing rupture, updated the tooltip to use cooldown instead of recharge in the description. Exhausting inflective throw, updated the tooltip to remove unnecessary negative symbols. And then for notable fixes, they fixed an issue where stamina recovery amulet perk did not mention the activation condition for the health below 50. Fixed an issue where fortifying sacred ground perk functionality would persist after the weapon swap and the perk with the armor. They fixed an issue where various food items did not have the same durations extended by using the lasting consumption bag perk. Also, they updated the several tooltips in the items to better clarify the durations of the standard food effect versus the well-fed healing buff. Fixed a bug on the gem damage conversion to not take into account for calculating damage fall off based off the distance to the ranged weapons. They fixed an issue where higher tier ammo was not increasing damage provided by an elemental gem on the blunderbuss. And then finally for heart runes, they fixed an issue where the heart gem rune attack damage would not be reduced when applying the adversion perks, Sword Defender's resolve ability and sturdy shield passive, Great Axe's enduring strike, Warhammer's hardened steel, and Great Sword's perfect vigilance. They fixed an issue where certain heart rune abilities were able to be used while encumbered, and added a notification that added clarification text indicating why heart room abilities are not being able to be used. And those are our combat changes. I'm going to be going hands-on with these for you guys today. I'm going to be jumping into all the new systems. So if you guys like New World content, you feel like it earns it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share these videos, comment below. That's a great way of letting YouTube know that you're enjoying the content. And beyond just that aspect, come hang out in Discord. Join us over on Twitch. Like, we're going to do a lot, especially over here in the coming months. It's going to be an exciting time to be a gamer, especially an mmorpg fan. I'm just going to wish you guys all the best. Thank you so much for being awesome. Hopefully I will see you in the next video, and hopefully you have a great day. But until then, take care.